Can everyone hear me? Okay, it's good? Okay, cool. I just wanted to say a really quick thank you to the WordCamp organisers. I went to a conference a couple of weeks ago and it was a lot more expensive than this one. And yeah, the conference, although significantly cheaper, has been exceptionally well run. So congratulations, guys. It's been amazing. Forgot my clicker. Okay. My phone. All right, so about me, that's me. I don't actually work for Security Innovation. I'm a consultant and I've been on a recurring contract with them for the last 12 months. Yeah, basically I get to touch my hand on basically every type of design, iconography, user interface, user experience. I would say that my role is more digital strategy. We're like overseeing the brand redesign of Security Innovation, which has been a lot of fun, lots of learning too, but that's really the nice part about working in a startup. These are what my meetings are like, as you can tell. It's a really good environment. So I was just wondering how many people here are designers? Cool. Everyone should have put their hand up. Everyone's a designer. So the rest of you are developers then? Yeah? Okay, cool. So I think a lot of people could tell me what design looks like. Because it's suddenly very, very popular. It looks like white space and minimalism. It's flat at the moment. That's just what's on trend. And it's often pretty, but this still doesn't actually describe what modern design is. So for me, I think that modern design is functionality clashing with aesthetics. And whether you like Apple or not, the fact of the matter is they did an amazing job when they released the iPod original and the first couple of versions of the iPhone. They really made a functional smartphone that was absolutely beautiful to use and hold. So modern design is simple, it's beautiful, it's user-friendly, it's clever, and it works. And the thing that I love most about modern design is that I get to be a part of it. We were born in the perfect lifetime to be designers. We're now very valued and appreciated. We have high-ranking positions in companies, and we have the opportunity to change the world for good because we create the interface that the modern world uses to connect. So we have an exciting period ahead of us as designers. We have new devices to design for, and we also have new responsibility because it's no longer acceptable to release a badly designed product or service. But it still happens. This is a hackable computer that you can throw. The message is that it will encourage children to program and exercise at the same time. And this is completely, like, in my opinion, bad design because it's designed for design's sake. It doesn't really answer a question. If your kid wants to learn how to program, they're not going to be exercising. It's just the way it is. So that's why I'm here today, because I want to talk to you about your process and how you can immerse yourself in it. So your process should involve 4 key stages: discovery, exploration, observation, and deployment. The names vary, but this is what I like to call them. And these phases break apart the design process. They create distinct sections in a complex series of actions. Together, I want to explore with you how we can use them to create great design. So your first phase is discovery, and it's your immediate response to the client's brief. So your own note-taking, mind mapping, brainstorming, competitor analysis, research, storyboards, user personas, information architecture, everything that you do in an immediate response to the client coming to you and wanting to work with you. I personally like paper and pencil, but you can use any medium. The reason I like paper and pencil is because you can draw something for anything and you can do it quickly. So say you have a new client and they want a website and you've been given 2 weeks to do it. Your discovery phase is going to do all the work for you. You can explore many different ideas for the website, and then you can transpose those ideas to different devices with speed. So excuse the bad quality of images, but I just wanted to show you like photos of what my journal looks like. So your sketches are going to look ugly and bad, and that's okay. I like to think of sketching badly as a kind of therapy, and I don't really feel like I've achieved anything unless I've drawn something badly every day. So my boyfriend gets to critique all my drawings, and I find it's a really easy way to get ideas out of my brain quickly, and also to realize whether they're actually going to work or not. So although I'm creative, much of my creativity stems from logic. I write a lot of notes, a lot of notes, go through far too many notebooks, but I'm exploring details and ideas. I'm stating the obvious. I write down what I like, what I don't like, and why. My notes help me understand my designs and improve my work. But it's a basic technique, but what it does is simplify complexity. So when I finished all my initial research, I'm ready to start designing. And the first thing I do is list all the elements that I need on the page. And then I start designing for the desktop view first. Now, given the subject of my talk today, I know that seems a little bit backwards, but hear me out. I like to start designing for desktop first because it's always nice to start a project with a wild idea of what something could be. I call this the dreamer version. So when you have a dreamer version, you can start sketching for other devices. Moving an idea from desktop to a smaller device that can't show as much creativity creates realistic expectations. It trims unnecessary creativity. It's also pretty much impossible to design for design's sake on mobile, so you won't have a hackable ball happening on mobile. It's just impossible. And when you have a refined idea for small devices, then you can revisit the desktop again. You can refine your idea, and you can also consider how it will move fluidly from mobile to desktop. I could do this process up to 20 times with different ideas. Some are good, some are bad, and some just need polish. And that's where your taste comes in as a designer. Cool. So, as I said, I can fill hundreds of pages with notes and sketches during the discovery phase. My ideas are rough and executed quickly, and a lot of the time they're binned quickly too. Reasons for this, they might obviously not work, or they might not answer the question. It might be too creative or not creative enough. Whatever it is, I understand why it won't work, and I understand it quickly. This is a major part of the discovery phase. So the quicker you scrap your bad designs, the quicker you'll move on to a better one. And communication is key for this. So if you're working on your own, you can do notes, or sometimes I talk to myself in the mirror. If you work with a team, you can also talk with them. Try to be the client and nitpick at all the little details that aren't quite right, but you let slide because it's your own design and you love it. Then go back to the designer role and try to sell it back to the client. These two different viewpoints are going to give you different perspectives, and it's a lot easier to understand how your designs work from different perspectives when you take those viewpoints. Okay, so the next phase is exploration. Exploration is basically your response to finishing the discovery phase. You have most of the details sorted out, but exploration is still flexible. And you need to create something with your sketches, and I do this in the browser. It's not uncommon to design in the browser anymore. It's actually quite common outside of Australia, but I think we're a little bit behind in terms of what's happening in the design process sort of scene. Clients still really expect visual mock-ups, and I can understand why, because they want to see the product. They want to see what it looks like. They want it to be perfect. They want pixel perfection. Which is fine if we only had to design for desktop, but to do so for many devices is really painful and time-consuming. Designing in the browser is quicker. So you're moving time spent from working in Photoshop to working in the idea's intended environment. The client can interact with the website as it's built as well. They can see it and they can feel it. From the beginning, you can also start designing interactions. So depending on the project, that could be animation or hover effects or video, it just depends. Mockups aren't able to give that experience like a website can. And of course, this is all dependent on you being able to code, so I would recommend CSS, HTML, and potentially JavaScript, depending how far you want to go into it. If you don't know these, then I definitely recommend that you learn. It's always a great idea to upskill, but apart from that, it's another reason to learn is that you can control your designs. You're never going to have the situation where you hand your design over to a developer and it turns out looking nothing like what you did. So, if you know how to code, then you can jump straight in. And I recommend beginning with mobile first. So why mobile? It's easy to fit more elements on the page in a wider screen than it is to try and squish everything into a narrower screen. And you also have the opportunity to streamline what you are building. So on the highest performing device, your website or product should be easily usable and beautiful. And the simplest device should also have the same experience. So you begin by laying out a wireframe. So take this for example. So we have a header, a main section with the paragraph, left navigation, right navigation, footer. And you want to concentrate on the mobile experience. So say you have a navigation. Is your navigation easily accessible with thumbs? So the way we use mobile phones is that our thumb is like good on the lower half of the screen, but it's really hard to use the top half. Is your font size correct? Is it easy to read? Is your website accessible? And so you add your styles to align with the branding identity last. The most important thing is experience. So when I've done this for mobile, then I start moving to larger screens. Decide where you want those breakpoints and use media queries for those. Your style sheet should apply to the most simple form of the website first, and then when applicable, it should add additional styles. This is where the term mobile first comes from, and as much as possible, you want to limit your duplicate styles, and this is one of the best ways to do it. Because you've already started designing in the browser, you now have a first prototype, basically, and it's a real-life version of the website. You can test it, it moves, it scales, it responds. So we call this rapid prototyping in the startup industry. Next phase is deployment. Basically what it says, getting the website out into the real world. So your idea is to quickly build a first version and iterate for improvements. The first version is functional, but not often pretty. The main reason for deploying prototypes is feedback. You can receive it early and regularly, and you can improve design and functionality as you go. It also stops you from rolling out huge changes, only to find that they don't answer the question. Perfect example of this is Facebook. Does anyone remember before they rolled out Timeline? Yeah? Remember when they rolled it out? It was horrible. Everyone hated it. Now, Facebook is lucky because they have enough users that it doesn't matter if everyone hates the interface. Your clients aren't that lucky. The same can't be said for their products. So what you need to do is make small changes over a period of time. And of course, this depends on the client and what type of project you're working on. Say you have a 5-week sprint on a small business website. With a normal technique where you design from Photoshop to browser, you probably won't have time to do testing. But if you start in the browser straight away, then you actually have a real-life version of the website. Even if it doesn't look the way it should yet, it works. And you have a prototype and you can test it. So the next phase is observation. That is a very hipster photo. So yeah, basically it's just watching what happens when we release a website into the real world. And it's testing the product with users. So analytics and A/B testing are the most common, but they can also be entirely useless. Numbers look important, but they lack direction or context. And don't assume that numbers are always the truth. They can be in certain ways. So if you've had X number of people come to your website, Y clicked that link, Z clicked that link, but this data fails you. It fails you because it doesn't tell you why they did it. So data-centered design goes beyond analytics and A/B testing. The goal is to understand the everyday experience better. And this is incredibly important to your clients and their businesses. The why of user behavior is essential to improving the product. Many would call this user experience. I don't really like to define it in a separate category. If you design the website, then it's your responsibility to make sure the people using it like it. To show you the importance of this, I want to share an example with you. So say you've been given a project for a small business website, and your objective is to engage and retain users with design changes. The first thing that I would do with this project is look at data. I'd want to know what the exit rate and the bounce rate are, and then I would sort the pages by those rates to see which ones were performing badly. Okay, so sticking with our example, let's say we have 2 pages that are performing badly. The first is a page that has a link to an outside website, and the second is a blog post. Now the first I can understand, we have a link to an outside website and we encourage users to leave. But the second, well, why are my users leaving? And the only way to confirm this is to go to the user and ask them. Now, user research is a huge subject and one I couldn't include in today's talk, but I'll give like a very brief overview. So user interviews and focus groups require self-reporting of behavior and preferences. Humans really suck at this. We have confirmation bias. We think we know ourselves, but we don't at all. And this is why user testing should capture data by many methods. So you can film the user, you can film their screen, you can track their eyes, sitting in the same room and taking notes, making them talk while they use an application. A really good example is having them talk and having a combination of eye tracking, screen filming, and having a recording of them talking is super helpful. So say they get lost on the website and they pause and they're like, what do I do? You have that recording now. If you can narrow it down to a page or 2, you will have a better chance of success. You'll also be able to directly measure whether your design changes are making a difference. Is your bounce rate smaller or larger after making the changes? So, without data, you are just another person with an opinion. You're also educated because you work with websites for a living and you understand them better than the average person. So a really good example of this is the hamburger icon. It's pretty much like industry standard now, but it's been proven that it's absolutely useless for the average user. We're super educated. We see that and we're like, oh, I've seen that on 100 sites, right? That's the navigation. That's not the navigation to a normal person. They're like, oh, it's like art. Okay, where do I find the navigation? So, Mon design is sort of like washing your clothes once a week. They look okay, they smell okay, they feel okay, but it's the principle. Your clothes definitely need to be washed once a week, or maybe more, depending on how smelly you are. But so your design also needs to be revisited. Maybe not once a week, but it's an assumption that you make that your design is good enough. And I think that's probably #1 reason why design isn't quite living up to what it could be. So for startups, this is normal. We have a dedicated team working on a product. We constantly revisit it. We're listening to users, we're improving it, making small changes. But for shorter projects, it may not be possible to revisit again, and that's why it's really important that you create great relationships with your clients. It's up to us to educate them and explain to them why they need to keep investing into their business and their brand. We need to explain to them that it's an entity, it's a living, breathing thing. And by being open about your process, you will get the opportunity to work with them again and to retouch your work again. So I have some takeaways from the presentation. #1 is don't fall victim to pretty looking things. This refers to what modern design looks like. Just because it's popular doesn't mean it'll work for your client and for the project in particular. Other one is use sketching to realize your ideas and concepts. Once it's on paper, you can improve it. Don't be scared of being a bad designer. Everyone has terrible ideas, If your sketches aren't working, understand and identify why, and trust your instincts. Refine your ideas in their intended environment. If you're building a website, it needs to be in the browser to flourish. Simple as that. Build for the bare minimum first, build for mobile, and then scale upwards. Get a first version out quickly, can't stress this enough. A mock-up doesn't count and cannot be used for reliable feedback. Use testing and data to improve your projects over time. Bring users and clients in for user testing and analyze data to make refined decisions. Lastly, create great relationships with your clients. You'll enjoy your work and you'll have the opportunity to touch on it again. So, how does this all relate back to what modern design is? Well, I believe that modern design is the clash of functionality and aesthetics. But I also believe that modern design is process, not product. And if you concentrate on process, then you too can create great design. Thank you. And I just wanted to say a really quick thank you to these two. Sorry, I don't know your names.
It's okay, don't you worry about my name.
Yeah. I want to shake your hand.
Oh.
You've been amazing. Thank you.
Alrighty, any questions for Lucy?
A sea of hands. Hello.
Thank you very much. That was an amazing talk.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if you've incorporated style tiles into your workplace. Style tiles?
What are they?
It's not there. The one replacement of the mock-up.
Star tiles. I've never heard of that before.
Okay. Right, send me the topic.
Yeah, I will have to. Any question? Yeah?
When you're designing in the browser, is there a quick way to save the work you've done in Inspector Tools back to files? So if you're manipulating CSS and doing script
yeah.
and markup.
Not sure. I guess I do it the long way. A lot of my work is done before I even get to the browser. Like, it's not completely set in concrete, obviously, and things change, but I guess I do a little bit. I play with like border radiuses on buttons or stuff, or like get like really fine details done in the browser. But to be honest, most of my work is done in the discovery phase, and it's just building it.
So you just implement it in the browser?
Yeah, and then if there's like any small little things that need adjusting, I'll do that. Yep.
Lucy, thank you for that.
Yeah.
What are you finding is the big obstacles at the moment with clients and understanding around that process, expectation, the same process for product, the issue focus on results, that education around that, is that a bit of a obstacle to come forward?
It definitely was when I first started out. So I'll give you a little bit of background. I've been working for myself for about 18 months. It was really hard at the start. I moved to Asia. Like Dee said this morning, you should have money behind you. I only had $2,000, so I was like, I'm gonna go to the cheapest place I can and work. It worked out really well. But yeah, at the start it was really, really hard. And I found it especially hard with Australian clients. I don't know why, but they are so resistant. And as soon as I made the jump overseas and started working for like companies in London and companies in the United States, the problem seemed to go. And I'm really lucky that I work with a startup now, and I don't even know what to call my position. I'm basically like the lead go-to on absolutely everything, and it's because I tell them, this is what I think, this is what you need to do, and I'm completely open about it. I don't ever let them walk on me. If I really think that they're wrong, I'll be like, no, this is what I think. Yeah, I think it's just important to be super, super open and really stick to your guns if you really believe in it. Cool. Yeah?
Hi. You mentioned that mobile layout where the menu is these little bars and people have to click on it to see the menu. You said, look, a lot of people just don't know that.
Yeah, it's crazy. They did some user testing. I think it's like an assumed thing now because Facebook does it in their application, and everyone's like, oh, well, it works, right? And it does for Facebook, but the average user doesn't get that that's hiding a list of things that they need to see. So what do you do? There's different things. Like, it depends on how many links you have. You can build like a separate thing. Off-canvas menus where you can like see already like half the navigation, or the nice thing about mobile is that you can have smallish text in your navigation. So you can have like a navigation bar that actually lists the navigation. Yeah, it's really a design choice. It depends on the project. I couldn't give you an exact answer.
Hey, Lucy.
Woo! Yes, to both of you. Where's the first one? Where's the lady? Okay. Hello.
Hey, Lucy. I'm just wondering how you feel about like prototyping software like InVision, or if you've used them before.
I haven't used InVision before. I read a little bit about them, but I know how to code, so it's much quicker for me, and it's quicker and it's cleaner to go straight into writing code, especially now that I've been doing it for like 4 years. My code is quite clean. You really need to spend the time doing that. Otherwise, I guess the better option is to do it with InVision. But the problem with that is that someone's going to have to go back through and clean that up unless they don't. But it's probably a good idea, especially if code quality is an important factor.
Thanks.
That's okay. Yeah.
Firstly, thank you for validating band sketch artists everywhere who appreciate that we can fail on first day.
Yeah. My sketches are not beautiful.
One of the things I was wondering about testing is the thing that most small businesses leave out. We just don't have the time, we don't have the budget.
Most businesses, not most small businesses, most businesses.
Any ideas on how we can bring it into the cycle? Is crowdsourcing testing an idea, or any quick and cheap ways to get it function?
Yeah, that's tough, especially with your smaller projects and smaller budgets. Honestly, it's really going to benefit the client if you do it. And I would, as much as I hate saying it, I would maybe even do it for free a couple of times just so you can get the case studies. On smaller projects, obviously, don't go crazy and like involve yourself in a huge project where you have to test everything. Run a few small demos and try and get some results that you can actually share with future clients, and then you can really sell user testing. Okay, anyone else? Yeah, we got two down here.
I've just got something quick to add to that.
Yep.
I just found the other day that peak.usertesting.com does a free 5-minute video of someone going onto your site and, just found peak.usertesting.com. It's a free 5-minute user testing video. So there'll be a bunch of questions and someone will log in, they'll like, what's the first thing you notice on the site, and they'll record all that. And then it comes back to you in a couple of days. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that's just to get them to sell you their user testing suite, but you can just get it free.
Super. I love it. Just here, this lady.
I'm sorry, I tried to look you up, but I didn't find your website.
Oh, it's
or something else.
no, that's okay. It's Lucia, lucia.com.au. Not Lucia. Everyone calls me Lucia. It's Lucia. Anyone else? Oh, we got heaps. Hey.
Just a quick one. I've been around for a while and I've seen designs and websites evolve over time. A couple of years ago, the Metro look was all the rage.
Yeah.
What's your personal view of these home pages that are like 5 miles long that take 5 minutes to get to the content?
It's like a hacker ball. It's designed for design's sake. It's not really answering the question. I guess you could argue that it is because it's beautiful and it sells the product, but are people going to spend their time viewing it? Probably not. And on anything but mobile, it's kind of useless. Who likes to scroll on a keyboard or a mouse? Mobile, it'll work, but desktop is like, yeah, I could pass. Yeah, do what you need to do for the project. Like I said, modern design doesn't have to be the top shots on Dribble. That's not what it needs to be.
Hi Lucy, thanks for that talk, it's great. I'm just doing my first mobile design, and I just really want to know what are the things you say that you really must have in design when you're building a mobile site?
I guess that depends on the project. So if we say we're going to, I don't know, like a small business website, and it's a landing page. I need to put like constraints on that question because otherwise it's far too broad. Okay, so say we're doing a small business website and it's a landing page. You need a navigation, obviously. And then you need to sell whatever it is that your client is trying to gain from having a website. So whether that's the actual business or whether it's a product or a service, you need to find the best way to display that. There are landing page formulas that work very, very well. I'm sure you guys are all aware of it, but if you're not, Google landing page success or something similar. But your key things that really seem to work, I haven't touched landing pages for a while, so if I'm wrong, don't count me for it. Testimonials are great, product shots are great. Quick lists of features that are best going to sell the product. If you have more than like 4 or 5, I'd say go to have a separate features page as well. Clients, social proof really works, and basically make as many calls to action as you can without being excessive. Okay, anyone else? That's it, cool. Oh, down here. Chris? Yeah, sweet, nice to meet you. Finally.
Yeah.
We've been following each other on Twitter for like a year and a half now. Yeah. Yeah.
Just along the lines of the process, we were having some discussions with a few people, and I'm not really sure whether the best process is to start with copywriting first and then design, or the other way around, or have an art director and a copy and designer all working together sort of in parallel with that sort of figurehead leading.
Yeah. So, yeah, content is key. Content is king. Content is king and user experience is queen. So I would say that you can design structure, but you can't necessarily design details without content. So you could say you're doing a landing page and you have a header at the top and it says unique selling proposition, and then you have a call to action button that links to a contact page. You can design that and you can sort of have a rough idea, but you're not really going to know like where the text is going to sit without actually having the text. So if my client hasn't provided me content, then I'll sort of like build the structure of it and then I'll wait. I can't really do anything until I have the content. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Is there anyone else? Yes? Down here.
Just to carry on from that, and being not really a designer, I'm more a coder than a designer.
You are a designer.
So
everyone's a designer.
Yeah, any designs that I do don't contain the client content, so they are just the structure, and then the content goes in afterwards. So as a designer, is it preferable for you to get all of the content first and then put that into your design mock-up and then create the web from that? Or is it better just to create a mock-up of the structure of the site and then build it in the browser and then design around the content, put content in and then design around that?
Ideal, yeah, I'd love to have all my content there, but clients suck and they never do that. So if they can give me like headlines, because headlines are probably the parts that are most like likely to fluctuate. So going back to that example where you have a header, your USP, and then a call to action button. I could have a 3-sentence USP, or I could have a 3-word USP, or a 10-word USP, and that's really going to change the design. So if I can not have all the content, I really want the headlines. Paragraphs you can fill with filler text. Yeah. Cool. Anyone else? Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, guys. It was fun.